focus in a little bit on the equity markets as well. And we have a very special guest who is now joining in to talk about more EPF money in the markets and whether or not the equity investments could be increased. Mr. Hemant Contractor, he is the chairman of PFRDA, now joining in right now on the show. Thank you so much and good morning to you, sir. To begin with, let's talk a little bit about what the current proportion is of investment in equities and what the expectation is and the proposals that you are putting forth for the government to increase for government employees.
Good morning and thank you for having me. Well, as far as the government sector is concerned, currently the equity component in the investment is restricted to 15% of the portfolio. And we have been talking to the government, that the options which are available to the non-government subscribers should be made available to government subscribers as well. And I mean, the talks are progressing well, and we hope to hear something very positive from the government very shortly. So that's as far as the government is concerned. It's currently at 15%, and we are talking to the government to increase this share from 15% to 50% is what is currently available for the non-government sector. And that's what we are pitching for. And we are also telling the government that the life cycle funds which are currently available to the non-government sector should also be made available to the government subscribers. So these are some proposals with the government, and we expect to hear from them very shortly on this.
Right, Mr. Contractor, morning. Would like you to clarify some allegations about Provident Fund portal being hacked for data breach. What would be your comments on the same?
Well, I read about it this morning. That it relates to the EPFO site, I believe, and well, it's very unfortunate that this has happened. But one has to take precautions and safeguards and ensure that all the data available with us is protected to the best possible extent.
Okay. Yeah, it does seem to be unfortunate right now, but let's talk a little bit about the increase in equities. Do you think that could perhaps happen in a staggered or a gradual manner? What is the expectation?
Well, we would expect it to happen in a staggered manner, but at least in the near future, we expect some positive development on the equity front. It may not happen to the extent that we have asked for, but certainly, a move towards increasing the equity component in the investment pattern for the government subscribers should happen. But I'd also like to talk to you a little about some new proposals which have been approved by our board. So would you like me to elaborate on that?
Go ahead and elaborate.
Yes. See, for the non-government subscribers, we have introduced a change in the investment pattern. Currently, non-government subscribers are permitted to invest up to 50% in equities. So we have now raised that to 75%, with the condition that after the age of 50, the investment in equities will taper down gradually every year till the person reaches the age of 60. So this is a big increase that we have just approved. Our board has approved. Increasing the quantum of equity investment for non-government subscribers from the current level of 50% to 75%, with the condition that it will start tapering off after the age of 50. So this will give people who have an appetite for larger equity investments to do so and increase their equity component of portfolio from the current level of 50% to 75% till the age of 50. So it gives a lot more elbow room for people to increase their equity component. And then, so this is one approval of our board recently. The other thing that has also been approved by the board is the change in the investment norm, relating to corporate bonds. Earlier, we were allowing investment in corporate bonds only in AA rated securities. But following the announcement of the Honorable Finance Minister in the budget this year, in which he said that since all bonds up to BBB were investment grade, regulators should also look at allowing investment in corporate bonds to the level of A-rated bonds, and a notch down from the current level of AA that we have. So the board looked at this proposition also, and the board has permitted that investment in A-rated bonds will also be permitted, subject to the condition that it will not exceed 10% of the bond portfolio. So this is another major development that has happened here. And the third thing is that the board has approved a set of principles, corporate governance principles, for our investment managers, our fund managers. These are this is called the stewardship code, and this is something which the other capital market regulators like SEBI, IRDA, and RBI are also looking at. And these stewardship principles have been adopted in a large number of countries, and they basically aimed at improving corporate governance in the companies in which our funds invest, and adopting best practices to ensure that the investments are made on sound lines and things like that. So our board has also adopted a stewardship code, which will be implementing very shortly. And last but not the least is the fact that we have now permitted partial withdrawals. As you may be knowing, we permit a person who has joined NPS to partially withdraw his subscription for certain contingencies, like illness or marriage in the family, or construction of a house, or disability. Now we have added two more factors. One is that if a person wants to say reskill himself, because in these times of people changing their jobs frequently and not having regular jobs for a long time, there is a need for people to reskill and acquire new talents and new skills, so as to be
Mr. Contractor, allow me to come in here, since I just want to get more perspective from you while we have you with us. Let's talk about what kind of AUM growth you are expecting.
Well, last year our AUM recorded a growth of about 28% or so, and one would expect a similar kind of growth this year as well.
Okay, so you're expecting that kind of growth.
So we currently stand at 213,000. We currently stand at 213,000 crores. Yeah, so 20, 25, 26% over that would be what we would expect to happen in the current year.
What would drive that growth? What do you think would drive that growth, Mr. Contractor?
Well, the normal pace of growth has been of this level. So, since there is a lot of untapped potential in the market, because, the pension coverage in the country is not very large at the moment, and there is therefore a lot of scope for growth. So, one would expect the same tempo of growth to continue in the current year as we have been witnessing in the last few years.
We'll let you go on that note. Appreciate you taking the time out, Mr. Contractor, as always, and joining in for that interaction, talking a little bit about the aggressive equity allocation, the overall AUM growth, as well as prospects for the PFRDA.